So let us dance this night away.
Hello and welcome to a new video. I hope everybody is doing well. So today's video, I've not done one of these for a long time. It is my July and August reading recap. These are all the books that I read in July and August. There are 8 in total. I've got here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I think I read 7. 7 in total. Okay. Yeah, okay, 7 then. One was an ebook. It was also an ARC as well, my very first ARC from NetGalley. But yeah, let's get into it. So July, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'd have known that I started the year off saying each month I'm going to do a theme for reading, and it went very well up until April, I think, and then it all just went downhill from there. I got into a bit of a slump with reading, and yeah, it was just a bit but I did say in July that being my birthday month, I wanted to reread Throne of Glass, or the series, in the whole of July. That didn't happen, but that's okay. You know, I still managed to read 4 Throne of Glass, or 3 Throne of Glass books, maybe 4, 3. But for those of you who don't normally read fantasy, because I'm assuming that most fantasy people have heard of this series or have read this series, but if you don't really read fantasy, this is such a good series, and if you're looking to get into fantasy, I would highly, highly recommend this series. It's 7 books in total, which is a lot, but do you know what? Those 7 books can fly by when you're reading them because it's that good. It's like crack. Throne of Glass is about an assassin called Selena Sardothian. She's our main female main character. And we start off the story where she is in the slave mines, where she's been sent by the king of Ardalan, which is the realm that they're in, and the king's son, the crown prince, comes to her with a proposition, which is basically, if he becomes her champion for these games that his father is throwing, sorry, not her father, then, you know, if she goes into their service, she'll be free in like 5 years or something like that. So Selena's like, yep, fine, I'll do it. And basically it's kind of like similar to the Hunger Games, where she goes up against all these other assassins, killers, murderers, etc. Basically the ultimate goal is to become the king's champion. And we go through all the trials, etc. with her, and there's a bit of mystery thrown in, there's a bit of enemies to lovers thrown in there as well, and it's just such a good book. I'm not describing it properly, but yeah, you just have to read it. And there's so much more to the story than what this first book is. It just develops so much more. I mean, it has to, it's 7 books in total, but yeah, it's amazing. So after Throne of Glass, I read Crown of Midnight. I'm not going to say too much about this because it kind of will spoil as you go along, but this is a good follow-up to the first one. Again, it's building up more, but it's so good. And then I think the last one I read in July was Heir of Fire, which is the 3rd book, and this one, apart from Throne of Glass, this one is where the story really, really starts. And it's a bit sort of slow going at first, but it's introducing you to another part of the story of, I want to call it Eternia, but that's He-Man, of their world. And yeah, it's just so good, and then there's more characters that are introduced, and so then after that I read Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldry, and that is the prequel to Legends and Lattes, which took over the book world, or took the book world by storm last year as the most cozy read you could read. I read it last year and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It definitely was what it said on the tin. Definitely worth the hype as well. So I was very, very excited to read Bookshops and Bone Dust. I didn't think I would read it as an arc, but when I saw the opportunity to apply for it, I thought, you know what, let's just go for it. So I did, got approved, and I read it. It's not as good as Legends and Lattes, but it is still a very cute, very cozy read. I gave it 4 stars, only because it just didn't give me that really warm, cozy vibe as Legends and Lattes had. But in this, being that it's a prequel, in this one we follow Viv, who has become injured whilst fighting. So her group have basically said, right, you can't fight with us right now, you need to rest and then we'll come back for you when you're better. So she's holed up in this kind of seaside town and she's hating it because she wants to be out there fighting. She's quite young compared to the Viv in Legends and Lattes. I don't know whether it's like late teens, early 20s, something like that. Sorry, it's noisy outside. So she's begrudgingly, you know, getting better because she injured her leg quite badly, so she's trying to heal up her leg as fast as she can. And to pass the time, she wanders into this bookshop which just looks in such a state of disrepair. And the owner, Fern, I think it's Fern, she sees something in Viv and she basically is like, right, I think you should read this book. Gives this book to Viv. Viv reads it and is like, oh my god, this is amazing, because she hadn't really, she didn't really read that much. So she's read this book and she's gone back to the bookshop and she's striking up a friendship with Fern. She's looking around thinking, right, to make myself useful for reading all these books and stuff, they're gonna do up the bookshop. And there's other side characters in there as well that you sort of come to love. And then it's just, I think the cozy part of it is the bookshop, because there's also a bakery in there as well, because we've got to get our baked goods in. So you've got those elements there, and then there's also the kind of danger, big bad element too, that she faces in it. It's a bit slow going. I think there is focus on like the bookshop and the friendships and stuff, which I liked. I enjoyed that. But it was sort of a bit slow, and then you get to the big bad part and it was just all a bit, it wasn't as exciting. Maybe that's because I had too high expectation because the first one was so good, I don't know. But I did enjoy it overall. I gave it 4 stars. I didn't love it like I did Legends. But I will say this, the epilogue, oh my god, the epilogue. I read it and I was like, okay, now you really need to do a sequel, Travis, because we need a sequel. So yeah, that was a good read, and thanks again to NetGalley for the opportunity to read it before November, because that's when it's out. So after Bookshops and Bone Dusts, I read Queen of Shadows, which is the 4th book. And again, I'm not going to go too much into it, but it is good. It is good. It is good. And you have to read this series. It's just this, again, the story progresses even more. We meet more new characters and it's just so good. And then the last book I read, so that was in August for Queen of Shadows. The last book I read in August was Realm Breaker by Victoria Aveyard. I did veer off of the Throne of Glass series because I've been sent the paperback for the next book in this series, and I've not read this before, so I thought, right, I better get to reading it, because obviously I need to do a review on the second book, and well, I can't really do that without reading this. So I picked this up and I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed it. I didn't have any expectations going in. I had no clue really what it was about because I think I purchased this when I went to 66 Books, and what was it? Yeah, I'd seen it and wanted it, so that was why I bought this book, just for the cover alone. But Realmbreaker, I was, do you know what, from reading the prologue, I've never read a prologue that has made me feel so anxious. Like, I'm reading it and I'm going, okay. And then some of the chapters in the beginning, there's one where you're like, ooh, oh. And yeah, I haven't had a book that's kind of made me feel like that in a while, apart from, you know, the Throne of Glass series, Akatar, etc. It gives me Lord of the Ring vibes because we have a band of heroes of all sorts of ilk. You know, we've got a wizard, a witch, an elder who's kind of like a fae, I guess. And yeah, it gave me those vibes. And then there's a character in this that comes in towards the end that gives me Brienne of Tarth vibes as well. So it's cool. It also gives me, well no, it doesn't give me those vibes, it is those vibes. Basically knights, quests, medieval style, the kind that you think, you know, you get from more male authors that are a bit more masculine, heavy, fighting, that kind of thing, you know, the adventure type. But I didn't think I'd be into that as much, but I actually really enjoyed this, like the adventure, the quest, etc. It was a really good read, and it did keep me hooked, and I will be reading the second book soon. I'm just in the middle of another kind of theme for September, so we'll get there, we will get there. But this is basically, it starts off with this big battle as such at the beginning, and it's basically the end of the world type thing. I mean, I try not to do spoilers when I talk about my books and stuff that I've read, but things don't go so well, and then we basically pick up after that battle and we follow a lot of different POVs, which again I didn't mind too much because it was a good mixture of what you were getting from each person, and so I wanted to read everyone's POV because it was just that interesting. So we pick up, and it basically starts where most of these people are scattered, but then they start coming together, and they come together quite quickly. They go on their quest, which is basically to stop what happened at the beginning happening again, which is basically going to bring about the end of the world. And yeah, that is it basically. I can't really say too much more without spoiling it, but yeah, if you like knights, valor, adventure, magic and Lord of the Rings, I would definitely recommend this book. I gave it 4 stars. So those were all the books I read in July and August. What did you guys think? Have you read any of them? If you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the comments below. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.